You wanna know what she said, she might just change your life.
Well, Christine, we talked a lot about eating, a lot.
Oh,
for the last
we love
15
to
minutes.
talk about eating. This is what happens when you do a morning show just before lunch.
I know.
Now, of course, that depends where. We've got listeners all over the country.
Right.
Depends.
So
For some people, they're driving into work, but for us, we're just before lunch.
And so I feel heavier just for having spoken about all that food for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
So it's time to get fit. What do you say?
What do you say? I think it's a great idea. And you know, the wonderful thing about fitness is that 20 years ago, it was sort of one formula. You went into the gym, you lifted weights, you got on a treadmill or an elliptical, and that was kind of it. And now there are just a gazillion ways to tailor-make what you like. You know, you can go and do Zumba, or you can go and do yoga, or Pilates, or you can go swimming, or you can, there's a huge array. And this, we now have something else, which I have not ever talked to anybody about this, but we have an expert here. So the book is called Weapons of Fitness, which sounds lethal.
That sounds powerful.
Powerful and lethal, because I would like to have a lethal body.
Yeah.
Not
killer
technically
bod,
a
Christine.
killer bod.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to have. And we have an absolute expert here, Avitals Zeisler. Did I pronounce that right?
Avitals Zeisler, but it's a very hard name to pronounce.
Avitals Zeisler. And Avital, tell us about how you got into this, because you have some Hollywood A-listers that just swear by this program.
Yes, I actually started off as a ballerina. That was a big dream, and I went to the National Ballet School here in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Actually, yes. And unfortunately, I faced a sexual assault in my transition from high school to college. And, trying to go through the victim services program and other forms of therapy, the one thing that actually made me feel just an ounce of confidence was taking self-defense.
Really?
And so I went into self-defense, but I had come into it from, a perspective and a reference point of a real situation. And so I started to learn self-defense, but also modify it for who I was as a woman. And then training in self-defense, I actually, really took it on and went all out. But I noticed that physically my body also was morphing and changing into something that I didn't think was, the feminine body that I wanted.
Now, as a ballerina, there's an incredible amount of strength there, the muscles that you build. But so this was different?
It was very different. What was cool about self-defense is that you want to train for the street. You want to train to be functional with the movements, which is, yes, very similar to dance. But, it really worked off of a different, just because at the end of the day, it's not, dance versus self-defense. It's very different. But for me, there was more similarities, actually, than the differences.
So what you're saying is when you did the conventional training for self-defense, your body changed in a way that you didn't particularly like it.
Yeah.
So how did it change? You became chunky as opposed to long and lean, or how?
I was training more. Definitely my eating had changed a little bit, but as far as the training, I was, trying to get stronger so that I could really hold myself on the mat against, male training partners. And especially when I was, training to spar and having to be so athletic and so powerful and so aggressive. And I was like, wait, there has to be a way that I can leverage off of mechanics and then also get the conditioning level to perform in these training sessions and on the street, but still preserve my feminine figure. And that led me to create my own workout. So I kind of said, okay, let me take care of myself on the mat. I'll work on my conditioning, and it's what led to the Weapons of Fitness workout. So
tell us then, what is the basis for this workout?
So the base is off the Soteria method, which is the self-defense method I created for myself as a woman that I'm now teaching. So the workout is the workout that could save your life, but it's based on the actual tactics and survival concepts behind the Soteria method. So it's really the perfect start. But what's so important when you're learning self-defense and then when you're training it is that you mold your body into a weapon of combatives or of strikes that some people refer it to that's consistent and efficient on the street. So in doing that, that's where you can really, sculpt your body, but then also have the ability to transfer that onto the street if you needed it to.
Well, but what you're saying is that the traditional method, you didn't like the way your body was. You've now created a system that
Best
really,
of both worlds.
the best
really.
of both worlds, because all these stars that are endorsing you, that are saying, "Wow, best thing that ever happened," they all want to have killer buds,
Yes, and it's this type of training. It's so functional, and you can at the same time sculpt your ultimate feminine figure. There's a toning component, there's a conditioning and cardio component, but it's all brought together in this literally 30-minute workout, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how you work through the Weapons of Fitness format. And what's so beautiful and phenomenal is that this is becoming like that mental reset. It's not just physical. There's so much behind it as far as empowerment and self-discovery, that when you learn how to develop an authentic survival mindset for the street and you apply it, personally, when I did this, I stopped counting down and just trying to get through the sets or the reps.
Which is so traditional. 8 more, 7 more,
Yes.
6 more, yeah.
And then when I started doing this, I was watching myself in the mirror transform into a weapon, and it was so empowering. And my training sessions were just so much more mindful, so much more exciting, and so much more fun. And to go even a step beyond that, if you embrace the essence of the method, you're actually working off of a completely different definition of self-defense, which is to create, live, and protect a life that you love.
I find that this is great, that the idea of mindfulness is being transferred into actual fitness training. It's something that we all kind of associate with things like yoga, and where I find it highly effective. But why shouldn't we be mindful during our fitness training, really?
No, why not be mindful in every single moment of your life, to be present, and that's what this method is also about.
And to get the most out of it.
I was absorbing all of the negatives of self-defense when I first started. I was becoming more paranoid. I was becoming more aggressive. I was losing who I was, the girl before the incident, which I was trying so hard to protect. And when I realized that disconnect, I said, enough. There has to be a different way of doing self-defense. And then I finally realized that I need to be connected to the life that I want to live. I need to push it. I need to attack life before it can attack me. But at the same time, I know if I ever have to, I'll be able to protect it and defend it.
But that positivity must also play into, there are a number of people that arrive at a place where they want to become fit and may never have tried any kind of fitness before. So being as this has such a positive mindset, that must really help for people that are taking perhaps those first steps into fitness.
Yes. Well, I also broke it down into various levels, and the method itself is designed for women of all ages and all athletic abilities. And if you have no previous experience, it's actually sometimes even better, because you're like a clean canvas to learn the technical execution and not have to worry about rebuilding muscle memory that's not working for you. So,
how would you describe somebody who started this and just did this as a fitness program? First of all, how often would you recommend it?
I recommend to start with 3 times a week in the morning. First thing in the morning is what a lot of my clients and students find to be really successful, and then try to push it to 5 times a week, but also give yourself those recovery days that are so important for the body.
So what change will they notice in their body?
Right away, your body's going to get tighter. I mean, you're just using your whole body as a unit. You're just engaging muscles that you might have never engaged before. There's I call it my burnout rounds, which is an element of the workout, which is so cool, because in between your sets, you're actually doing combatives and training them in a continuous manner. So you're getting the heart rate up, and you're still toning, and you're just sculpting and burning. So for me, it's like equal to running, for however many, miles, and then... But then also to go to the gym for 2 hours. Like the lifestyle for me, I have to do it. I have to do it every morning now. But it's quick, and it allows me to move on with my life. But it's that mental reset.
But you don't go to the gym then
for
2 hours
right?
after,
no,
right?
No. I do this now. I mean, this is why this is so exciting for me, to finally be able to share it with other women in the
So
method.
this is your workout, and you're the one training everybody else.
Yes. So with the hectic schedule that I have, this is what saves me, actually.
Except you must, if you're training people, I've always wondered about mega fitness people like you, who design your own program. You do the program, and then you go do it maybe 4 or 5 more times, because you're probably doing it with your clients as well, no?
Yeah, sometimes I'm participating with them, but I'm also, for my clients, I'm there and I'm helping guide them. So I show them form and I help cue them, but I'm really like eyes on, making sure that they're doing it right. And, you know, I was always, when I was writing this book, I was really thinking, how can I provide that type of guidance? And that's why it's so broken down onto very detailed outlines of details that help people make sure they're on track with the form.
People need to understand that why form is so important.
Yes, it's everything, and I'll explain a little bit, but you want the muscle memory. You want to be armed with that muscle memory on how you're executing your combatives, for example.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Explain to people who don't know what muscle memory is.
So muscle memory is just the memory that your body and your mind have the connection on how you physically will execute a movement.
So you instinctively know if you've done it right X number of times, you instinctively know when you did it wrong.
Yes, it won't feel like second nature. And what's so important with the combatives, and just to clarify for the listeners, a combative is also known as a strike, a punch, a kick.
Right.
When you're looking at it from the perspective of to be effective on the street, if I'm not technically executing a straight strike, for example, I don't know on the street what's going to come out. But what's important is that my combative range, or the distance I'm going to reach, is going to change. And sometimes I'll land a target and sometimes I won't. So if you're looking at just that alone, it shows you how important muscle memory development is. So for example, when I look at cardio kickboxing classes, I think, of course you're going to burn 600 calories or more, or however it is, whoever is leading the class. But I want women to start thinking and being mindful of how am I executing this, because when you complete 1,000 repetitions, you're absorbing the muscle memory, which could be all over the place.
Right.
So, at the very least, this book is going to give you the information and the guidelines to really mold yourself into a weapon of
Take
combative.
that fitness and make it practical.
That's effective. But also, I'm not going to get too technical here. It's all in the book. But the more you do the proper execution, you're just getting that much more of the workout.
But, realistically speaking, let's say you're walking down the street in a suit with a pencil skirt and a pair of heels, and something happens. Are you really going to be executing? Are you really going to be...
Oh my God, this is such a great question. I'll tell you why I'm so happy that you asked me this.
Are you really going to be able to,
defend yourself?
kick some guy?
I get asked this question about the heels, of course, as women. Now, first of all, I just want to say, when it comes to self-defense, I refuse personally to compromise who I am as a woman or my femininity for self-defense. Of course, if you're wearing heels, it's going to pose as a challenge. But I've gone, when I started to learn self-defense, I went all out. I went to work with every single person I could meet with. I went as far as to work with and interview neuroscientists. And when it came to the heels question for myself, I was like, how am I going to, what do I do? So I ended up learning how to run on a treadmill with high heels as my own scientific experiment. How to... not in the book and not recommended.
No, my level of respect just went up 1,000%. You did the treadmill in heels?
Sprinting. I have it on video. Maybe
did you wear pantyhose too?
I was
and a pencil skirt? If you do that,
wait, the pencil skirt's a whole other conversation because I have solutions there too.
Well, what do you think, Sharon?
Keep her around, eh?
Yeah, well, keep her around. Can you stay with us over the break? Because we have to hear about the heels and pencil skirt and pantyhose on the treadmill.
And the celebs.
And the celebs. Hell yeah. Because, you can tell tales out of school because we won't tell anybody, will we, Sharon? No. Now, this is what she said on Canada Talks 167 Sirius XM, and we'll be right back. And if you want to find out how to run on the treadmill in your heels, stay with us.
Oh, don't do it. No.
And we're ready to dance in the studio
Look
here
at
with
you
the music.
go.
I know. I feel empowered already by this book, Weapons of Fitness, and our great author here, Avitals. Yes. I think I got it right this time. And when we went to break, we were talking about just the practicality of being able to defend yourself. So you're now in New York, although you are a native Canadian.
Yes.
Very proud to say that. And I'm thinking, okay, the average woman going to work, walking down the street, pencil skirt,
In your
high
workwear.
heel, in your workwear and your heels, and something happens. And you actually practice this on a treadmill.
Well, yeah. When I work with women, I for me, it's about being authentic. That's all I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever information I bring forth, that not only from experience, but it's been tested, and bringing forth the most current solutions that of safety and empowerment for women. So yes, I have been on treadmills, sprinting in high heels to try to figure out that if I was to be confronted and have to physically defend myself while wearing heels, that I would transition my weight onto the balls of my feet.
Yeah, how to be effective.
Because, of course, to take them off and then to be able to be flat foot so you're comfortable is also a solution, but you might not have that time.
Right.
You might not have that
But
opportunity.
a 4-inch heel could be a lethal weapon too.
Of course, and then now we're getting into improvised weapons, and it's like, that's the thing about self-defense. There's no rules. Some martial arts, it's a sport, and when it comes to self-defense, because there's no rules, I can use literally any object to really help my defensive strategy.
Well, and the reality of self-defense is the fact that you can't predict. Things can happen at any time.
Yes, I always tell my students, let's look at the fact that you can be targeted for violence anywhere, anytime, for any reason.
By anyone.
And by anyone, and because of that, there's, we should be proactive in learning how to proactively prevent violence, and then also if our personal plan of safety doesn't work, that we can react and actually use self-defense tactics.
But you actually are saying that your biggest defense is your mindset.
Yes, definitely. I always say that your mind is your most powerful weapon for survival on all fronts and all levels of your life.
And this book prepares?
Yes, I actually went to interview a lot of neuroscientists to find out what what the cognitive reaction is to the threat or the act of violence, and then, I had these ideas and these models that I had personally experienced in my incident that I wanted to see if they were valid and if I could, and I've basically done so much work about this, and it is in the book because it's so important to understand how to train from a perspective of reality. And, I even tie in the visualization, how you can use your 5 senses after learning concepts to experience the defense from the best case to the worst case scenarios, to literally insert memory files so that you can overcome that fight or flight moment and those freezes that you'll experience quicker.
So let me ask you, is this just for a physical attack? Because it's a training book, where you're training your body.
You are training your body,
But you talk about mindset. So is that also going to prepare you for psychological or emotional attacks? We've all been attacked by people, not physically maybe, but...
It's interesting.
Let's talk about bullying. Would it apply to being bullied by somebody?
100%, and I'll get there, because when you're learning, let's first look at the physical attack.
Okay.
If we were to develop a survival mindset, and the reason you'd want to develop a survival mindset is because who you are, you have emotional, spiritual, physical, all these boundaries that some and some you don't, and unfortunately, you will find them out in a real situation. So to develop an authentic survival mindset, and there's, I talk about how to do in the book and how to start doing it, but it shows you how to tap into that stronger, more confident side of your personality. And when you do, it translates and it allows you to pull the positives of that into who you are, so that you can become stronger against something like bullying, for example. Like if I'm one example, if I'm learning how to block an active attack, someone trying to do a hook punch to my face, for example, and then you're like, okay, I'm learning how to do this. And then for me, when I did that, I was like, wait, I can block literally negative comments or negative thoughts in my mind. I saw a direct life application to it. And that's the final chapter of the book, which is so exciting, that I start to talk about the ways that you can take self-defense into your everyday life and perspective.
When you are learning and preparing to block that hit, you are, I guess, intellectually saying to myself, you can't hit me.
Yes, I'm going to block. I'm going to intercept the initial threat and the initial attack. And
that
then I'm
makes
like,
sense.
wait. And then I even went beyond that. I was like, whoa, if I can do this, then I can choose the reality that I need to be positive. And I can prepare a positive reaction to overcome whatever the fear is. And that's when I really started to heal from my experience, to look at trauma and to overcome it in a positive and a meaningful way.
Well, your trauma was very traumatic. I mean, it was a whole different thing. But we're talking about all the time, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, we talk about stories, and you hear about them, Avital, all the time about young women and children.
Yes.
I mean, boys too. I mean, just people everywhere, and horrific incidents. And we've had it with Rehtaeh Parsons and
Yes.
and other people in the news where they have been bullied, which is an attack. You know, in the most primal way, and with really, you know,
Devastating results.
devastating, tragic consequences. So this, to me, besides being a
Great
great
fitness
book,
Yeah.
but it's empowering to the point where I think for young women, or even men, for that
Yes.
matter, this would be a great book to sort of build your mindset. To see what you can do. I mean, you can't stop the bully, but you can change your mindset to block some of the ill effects, perhaps. Is that what?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
100%. And, you know, it's, you touched on so many points, just that it really, this definition of self-defense is for everyone. Whether it's a girl, you know, whatever gender, whatever age, whatever experience, whatever attack, and even if there's no attack, you know, when I look at self-defense, if you are practicing this definition of self-defense, you are practicing the ability to always be creating, being present to live and enjoy those moments that you've prepared for, and then having that back and knowledge to protect it if someone or if something comes in negative, whatever it may be. But, you know, I want every person to just really go after life, to attack it before life attacks them in whatever form it will.
So we can take the positives into our working life, our relationships, everything in our life. We can attack more
Everything.
positively.
Everything. I live my life now by this. And it's just been, you know, the opportunities and things that, you know, I'm doing, I never in a million years thought I'd be doing.
So, if someone is negative towards you, says something negative, does something negative, what are you thinking and saying to yourself when that's going on to protect yourself?
Literally block it. I mean, it doesn't even come into my reality.
You just say, no,
No, it's
sorry.
no, and I'm also about positive energy and positive people.
Right.
And it kind of gives you that information about what they could be going on in their life, but no one's going to force me to accept it. So when I arm myself like that so that I can keep my vulnerability open to life, that's powerful.
That is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
To remain vulnerable, because often people will put up walls and they miss out on a whole bunch of
live
stuff.
with the walls, and
Well,
that's
right.
well,
and it's easier said than done. But
yes.
I'm telling you, there's stuff in this method. I'm so passionate about it because I can relate so closely that I after I was so closed up. And even before I was closed up in other ways that, you know, I didn't realize till after, because I was so disconnected from people. And that's life, to be connected, to feel and to be present.
Well, when you go through a traumatic incident, often the walls go up.
Of
And the
course.
problem is people don't know how to bring them down
Right.
because healing takes a long time. And then they miss out on all that stuff because we all take a chance on people. We all take a chance on life. You go out in the street, you could be hit by a car. You make a new friend, they could stab you in the back. I mean, you have to take a chance.
But think about that, because if you take a chance, and it's so worth it, right?
It's so worth
But
it.
if something negative comes off of it, you don't have to accept it.
No.
You can prepare a reaction that's positive to make that situation or to make that incident the reason you need to move forward in a positive way. And that's what, you know, like stuff like this that comes. And what's amazing is that in the method, we all practice the same concepts for actual physical safety. But the journey of, you know, self-discovery and empowerment is very special and unique to everyone because everyone lives a different life.
Well, you have just, I mean, your message is so empowering.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel a whole lot better, Sharon,
Physically
today.
and mentally.
Physically and mentally. And I think this would be a great vehicle for women all over, and young women and young men and just everyone.
Yep, and Hollywood's been picking it up.
Yeah, Hollywood's been picking it up. Boy. So where can people get this book, Weapons of Fitness?
Yes, here in Canada, Chapters Indigo. It's also on iTunes for the with an enhanced ebook version as well. Barnes & Nobles and Amazon.com. Like all the retailers are listed on the website.
And I guess we all have to move to New York if we want to train with you, right?
Nope, we're coming here. We're coming everywhere.
Oh,
We're in classes
yay!
very, very soon.
Really?
And instructors,
Oh,
and I'm looking for instructors
really?
too.
Across
Yes.
Canada?
Across Canada.
Fantastic.
Of course, I'm from here. Oh my
Of
god.
course. So you're going to let us know, and we'll have you back and talk about. You're going to have studios that are opening, and
We
Yes,
could
I'm gonna have
broadcast from the
instructors.
studio and go through the workout. I
oh,
love it.
we could. We
Oh.
absolutely could. Yay!
Oh my god.
Click the channel subscribe button for full-length interviews and more from What She Said here on YouTube.